Hi everyone, this is another timeless reading that's for somebody out there. My intention is that this one will find the people it's meant for and at the right time. It's definitely not for everyone, so if the storyline that emerges is not resonating with you, it's probably not for you or not for you at this point in time. You can still watch the whole reading because it's always an intention of mine that anyone who is drawn to one of my readings will gain something from it. Whether it's an insight, a bit of wisdom, or just the opportunity to see something from a different perspective. So if you happen to be here, I think you're meant to be here. Please do watch the reading. Okay, and we'll start that reading soon, but before we do, we'll just do a quick love pause here. This is where we pause the video so that we can intentionally send some love out into the universe. You can just send some loving energy, or you can do a little Ho'oponopono prayer with the 4 sentences. Thank you, I love you, I'm sorry, and please forgive me. I just like the idea of sending these positive intentions out into the world, and I'm grateful to everyone who takes part. So the time to pause is now, and the reading will start on the next slide. All right, so this is the spread for this reading. Thank you to everyone who did do the love pause. Now, for anyone who's interested in the decks I've used, I'll have them listed on a slide at the end of the reading. So today's oracle decks were all a little bit witchy. I usually pick my cards intuitively, and I allow the cards that appear to guide me to the next deck. But this is one of those times where I felt straight away that I wanted to use all 3 of these oracle decks for this reading. When I had my 3 oracle cards out, my mind was kind of searching for a witchy tarot deck, but what I was actually guided to was the Crow Tarot. So I guess crows are meant to be spiritual messengers, so maybe this is their message. All right, so the card at the bottom of the deck this time is actually the 5 of Swords. Oof. Though this is not a nice card at all. It's actually about someone who's been very self-serving, very uncaring about others. And it can indicate a narcissistic or abusive individual. And the imagery in traditional tarot cards generally shows one person who's very happy that they've got all the swords, and everyone else in the picture just looks a little bit broken and defeated. And as we know, people who are the victims of narcissists, abusers and bullies, they can be left traumatized for a very long time after the experience ends. So yeah, this is not a good energy, and unfortunately it is the bottom of the deck energy. So this is very much about an experience that has taken its toll on someone. And I just noticed actually that there are a lot of number synchronicities and palindromic patterns here in this spread. And I might look at that at the end of the reading, but what I'm seeing here is that the tarot cards are basically 5, 3, 3, 5, and then the 2 oracle cards that have numbers on them are basically 32 and 23, and both of those actually reduce to 5 as well. So I guess the 5 energy is here 4 times really, and that's a number of change. And then we also have obviously 4 3s and 2 2s, so those numbers are also important, I guess. So 3 relates to creation and the creator energy of God, and 2 relates to balance, harmony, and duality. Now, I'm pretty sure that will all be relevant because I don't believe in coincidences. So, but I might just take a look at all of that after I've done the reading because I don't want to read into it too much at this stage. All right, so getting back to the spread, the card in the past position is the 3 of Pentacles. This is a good energy. This is the energy of teamwork and collaboration. It's about things working harmoniously. Now, it's in the past position, so we'll see what happens from then on. And of course, it's about Pentacles, so it could well relate to work as well. Now, if it's not work, it could also relate to something that you do give a lot of your time to. So that could be something like if you're in a committee or the Parent Teachers Association or some kind of charitable organisation. It could even be a hobby group. So whatever it is that we're talking about, it was previously a well-functioning collaboration. In the present position, again, we have a nice card. It's the 3 of Cups. That's also very nice. This is the energy of celebrations with close friends, loved ones. So with these 2 cards together, 3 of Pentacles, 3 of Cups, I do get that feeling of something good, something that was working really well, something where people got along, and they had things that they celebrated together. So I'm thinking about, significant events and milestones that were celebrated in the spirit of friendship. So that's really nice. But obviously something isn't right here because we've got the 5 of Swords at the bottom of the deck. And I'm guessing the answer is here in this 5 of Wands card, which is in what I would normally have as the future position. But I'm not going to call it the future position because when we're looking at this spread, we have those good energies and then something changes. So this is what has happened to end those good times is what I'm seeing. So in terms of what the Five of Wands is, it's actually a card about competition, potentially a card of conflict as well. I don't always read it as a bad card because you can have healthy competition, which is where people are motivated to try harder and do better because of competition. But here in this reading, obviously, it wasn't healthy competition, and that's why we have the Five of Swords at the bottom of the deck. So things got ugly here. They got a bit nasty. So there was that Five of Swords person who just didn't like the idea of competition. So they started to do things that were mean-spirited to the other person or the people involved. So rather than seeing the competition as something motivating that would help them improve, they chose to look for ways to attack the competition and take them down. So if we're talking about a workplace, which we might be, they might have started doing things to undermine the other person or saying bad things about them behind their back, or perhaps sabotaging projects they were working on. So it's things like that. And they could even have been hostile in more direct ways, being for example, being a bit of a bully, being excessively mean or critical, or saying or doing things that they knew the other person would find upsetting. So I'm getting the sense that if we're talking about a work environment, it went from being something quite nice to something quite toxic, which is a bit of a shame in the end. And so another reason I felt like that last tarot card wasn't really a future card like it normally would be in my spread is because of this first oracle card here, which is titled Winter. It has the keywords an ending, recharging, and reflection. So I got from this card that the person who was being bullied or picked on effectively got themselves out of that environment because it became too much for them. Now, winter is the bleakest time of the year, and so I'm feeling like this is really a representation of how they felt after this experience. And I can imagine that feeling of bleakness because if someone had been in a job where they were happy and they were doing good work, and then things became toxic, too toxic for them to continue, that would actually be really demoralizing when you think about it. And it's obviously a different story if we were talking about someone who was pushed out because they weren't good at their job or because they weren't trying to do a good job. So here this person was doing a great job and wanting to continue to do well, and they got punished for it. And I guess that if they left because they couldn't take it anymore, that might also mean that they didn't really have a backup plan at that point. Like they might have just reached breaking point and left. So they might not have had another job to go to. And that would also be a reason for this bleak experience. They would be feeling like crap because of how they were treated. And then if it also meant they're now out of work as a result, that would just make them feel worse. So they would have worries about their future and about their financial position. They might even feel like a bit of a failure for being in this position because it was really their decision to quit in that sense. And I definitely don't agree that that's right because if you're in a situation where you aren't being treated right, I think the decision to leave is actually the correct one. So I'm not sure that it's reasonable to apply any negative connotations to that decision or to be like considering this person a quitter or anything like that. So they had very valid reasons for leaving. And to be honest, I think the universe would actually be very happy that they made the decision to leave rather than stay and suffer. Because I think the universe would actually be very supportive of the fact that this person made a decision that would bring them more peace. To me, a decision that brings more peace is what I call an aligned decision. So in this story, this person's soul understood that this bad experience wasn't aligning with the life they wanted to have. And I feel that whenever someone makes an aligned decision, they are communicating something to the universe. So they're either saying, I like this good thing, I want more of this good energy in my life, and that's when they choose something that aligns, or they're saying, I don't want to deal with this kind of crap anymore, and that's when they drop something that isn't aligning. They are making their intentions very clear to the universe. So when this person dropped this job or collaboration, they were actually declaring to the universe that what they were experiencing was unacceptable to them. They were signaling to the universe that they wanted a better experience of life, and I think that's a good thing. Now, the other thing here is we have those other words on this card, recharging and reflection, which are pointing out that even though this period of time seems bleak and redundant, there are good things happening, and that's a perspective that we often don't have when we're going through the bleak period. So this winter period in this person's life is actually giving them a break. It's giving them a chance to heal and recover from what they've been through. And they're also getting time for some introspection. They're getting time to reflect on the past and consider their options for the future as well. So here they can actually consider what they really want in the future and work out what they need to work on in order to accomplish it. So I actually like that. And I have to admit, I love the imagery on this card because it shows the signs of positivity in this bleak period. So there's an empty bench out there in the snow, and there are some footsteps in the snow that show that someone has left this bench recently. So that to me is saying that this person was sitting out there in the cold, but then they decided they didn't really want to sit there feeling miserable and hopeless anymore. They got up and left, and that's very symbolic. It's again indicating that this person wants something better, a more positive experience of life. And I can actually imagine them going from this bench out in the cold, heading somewhere warmer and more welcoming. So that's the picture in my mind that I'm getting. Now, the other obvious thing in this card is this cardinal in this image, because there's that bright splash of red in that bleak environment, and that seems really symbolic as well. And I know that red is a color of prosperity and good fortune in Chinese tradition, so that is coming to me at the moment. But cardinals actually have a lot of symbolism attached to them. So some people think of them as signs from spiritual guides or deceased loved ones. They can also be a sign that new experiences are on the way. And that's reminding me of the meaning of the word cardinal in astrology, because the cardinal signs are all initiating energies. So that's interesting. And that could actually be suggesting that something new is definitely beginning for this person at this point. Now, getting back to the cardinal, the bird, they are also seen as symbolic of hope, peace, and comfort. They are also associated with romance, self-confidence, happiness, strength, and determination. So lots of good things coming through there. Now, while I was reading about the cardinals, I discovered they have a lot of significance in a lot of Native American tribal stories. And that actually does make sense because they are native to North America. And a few things stood out as I was reading some of these tribal stories, so that link to romance was quite strong. And I discovered that the number 12 is associated with cardinals. And so there was actually a comment there about how a cardinal sighting was taken to mean good luck coming within 12 days. So that's a nice thing to read as well. So I don't know if those things necessarily relate to this reading, but it would definitely be great if there was something good coming in the next 12 days, whether that's romance or something else. The connection to North America might also be relevant for someone watching this, because I always think that when there's a specific geographic location that comes up. Well, anyway, the way I see this card is that this person was feeling bleak, but this cardinal being in this card is suggesting that perhaps hope has been restored. With all those cardinal energies, they might be feeling more at peace and feeling stronger and more confident. So they've definitely walked away from those feelings of bleakness. They've decided to go and focus on where they want their life to go, rather than letting their past experiences weigh them down. Now, this also comes through in the card that's titled Blessed Resilience, which has the phrase, "You can weather the storm." So this is another witchy deck, and the image is a bit morbid because this witch has a noose around her neck. And I guess that's alluding to the feeling, to someone feeling ostracized and persecuted, because witches were that, they were ostracized and persecuted in the past. So I'm getting from this another suggestion that whatever was done to this person in that Five of Swords experience, it was pretty awful. And I guess when you think about it, the reason witches were persecuted was because they were seen as powerful, and there were people in the community who felt threatened by that. So that's a very similar energy to the storyline that's come through here, because it was this person shining their light, doing well at their job or work, that was so threatening to that other person, that Five of Swords person. So they got that sense of, if I can't be what you are, I'll take you down. So Not nice, but the good thing is that the witch in this image is still surviving. Now she's holding on to her black cat and she's standing on her broom, which is actually hovering above the ground. So I guess that means that she's using her own magic to give her something to stand on. And I'm also getting confidence in this card because of the black cat, because the black cat in the traditional Rider-Waite-Smith the black cat's in the traditional Rider-Waite-Smith image for the Queen of Wands. She has a black cat. And the Queen of Wands is a very confident character because I see it as Aries energy. And of course, Aries energy is cardinal energy as well. So it does tie in with that reference that came up earlier. And the Queen of Wands because, well, that's meaningful as well because wands is a word that we do associate with magic wands. So that's definitely Queen of Wands energy coming through for me here. Now, what I'm getting from that is that this blessed resilience is actually about how this person can weather any storm because of their own magic. And I suppose the problem was that when they were feeling bleak about things, that would have dampened down, it would have blocked their magic. But the good thing is now that they're starting to get their mojo back, that means that, you know, their magic is going to start firing up more from this point on. So I do love that that's coming through. Now, the last oracle card shows a mermaid in a bath and has the title, and sometimes she changes. So my first thought when I saw those words was shapeshifter. And so I think this is how this magic might unfold. This person might transform into something new as they move into the future. And I also, when I was looking at this card, got a quote by Eleanor Roosevelt. It popped into my head. And that's because we have this energy of resilience, and this witch is in a bathtub. And it just reminded me of the quote. You've probably heard it, but it's a woman is like a tea bag. You won't know how strong she is until you put her in hot water. And so here in this image, I'm seeing this witch in the water and she's transforming into a mermaid, you know, someone who is very much at home in the water. So tying that into this story, I feel like even though this experience has put this person into what objectively appears to be a bleak position, they are actually going to be shape-shifting and becoming someone who is going to be okay in that environment. So even if they're, for example, unemployed right now, they're going to be able to turn that into an opportunity of some kind. So maybe that means they'll be starting a business of their own, or we did have that earlier message of luck within 12 days. So maybe some new opportunity is imminent, and because they're not working and they have spare time, they're going to be able to grab this opportunity. So the point I'm getting is that even though this Five of Swords experience felt like the ending of something good in their life, it might actually become part of the story of how they began something new in their life. So it can be the positive that's coming out of this. Now, as I was channeling all that, two other things popped into my head. So first I got that obviously Eleanor Roosevelt is a connection to North America again. So again, that I'm feeling maybe this reading is for someone from the USA or North America. And I also realized that we can see the cardinal as a symbol of resilience as well, because in terms of their nature, they don't actually migrate to warmer climates like other birds tend to. So cardinals will stay in their territory all year round, all through winter, and they've adapted to survive winter, which is really amazing. So I'm loving this reading because I always love readings where the messages are echoed in different ways in different cards. But anyway, resilience is coming through strongly. I feel like this person clearly has that capacity to adapt or shapeshift. So if they're thrown into winter, they will adapt to survive winter, just like how that witch could become a mermaid when she was in water. And I realized while I was doing this reading as well that the names of a couple of these oracle decks are also quite meaningful in this reading. So one of the decks is called the Lost Oracle, which definitely fits with the bleak feeling this person started with. And the other oracle deck is titled the Solitary Witch Oracle, and that is about a witch, obviously, who's very capable of looking after herself. She doesn't need to be part of a group or a community. She can function just fine on her own. And we saw that in the Blessed Resilience card image as well, because that witch was in a lot of trouble, but she provided herself with something to stand on. So I think that's really cool. And I think that's it for the reading. I obviously definitely was seeing this as more of a female reading because of all the witchy energy and the images of witches. But of course, a reading can be relevant to a person of any gender, and we all have both masculine and feminine energies. So, as always, if the reading resonates, you should claim it. And I just realized I didn't even look at the numbers again, which I said I would do. Since I've been channeling the storyline, I'm going to start with the palindromic nature of the numbers as they appear in this spread. So in the bottom row, we had 5335, and in the top row, we had 3223. And in both cases, we are basically going from the higher number to the lower number and then back up to the higher number. So that's giving me a boomerang vibe. So this is about a bounce back. So this person has fallen from a good position, but they will rebound back to being in a good position. 5, as I said earlier, is the number of change. That makes perfect sense because something's changing for this person here. 3 is creation, which again fits with that idea that they're going to be creating something new from this low point that they're in. 2, I said, was about harmony, balance, and duality. Well, duality is coming through, obviously, because this person has experienced the good and the bad in this storyline. And it's all going to balance out again because of that rebound boomerang effect that's coming. Now, so I think, what was knocked out of balance is going to be restored back to a state of peace and harmony. And when it comes to numbers, I also like to think about what major arcana cards do those numbers correlate with. And here we've got 2, 3, and 5. So 2 is the High Priestess, 3 is the Empress, and 5 is the Hierophant. So they are all powerful archetypes. And if those are the energies that are combining here, we're talking about things like spirituality, intuition, creation, wisdom, and integrity. So that's not a bad combination at all, is it? So I like it. And now I really do think I'm done. I hope you enjoyed this reading. I know I enjoyed it a lot. It's definitely my kind of reading because whenever I get things like connected messages and lots of symbolism, I get very excited. I do like that. All right, so this slide says that we're done. So if you are still here, thank you for watching this video. If you liked it, I hope that you'll give the video a like, and I hope that you'll consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't already. If you feel like you would like to share a comment, please do so, especially if you felt that this reading resonated for you, because I would love to hear those stories. And thank you to everyone who's already subscribed. Thank you so much for supporting me as I work on growing this channel. As I mentioned earlier, the decks I've used, if you're interested in them, they're in the description box. And I've done that with all of my readings. In the past, I wasn't putting the decks in the description box, but I've gone back and updated all my old videos. So if you're watching an older video, you'll still find the decks there in the description box. Now, the reason I'm bringing this up is because some of these decks have Amazon links next to them. So these links are handy because they will allow you to look at those decks on the Amazon site that is most appropriate to where you live. But they're of a slight advantage to me as well, because if you use the links I've provided and then you happen to purchase the deck, I might qualify for a small commission from Amazon. That will be at no extra cost to you, and your shopping experience will not be at all affected by the fact that you've used this affiliate link. So if you do decide you want to purchase decks using the affiliate links that I've provided, there is some extra information in the description box that you should check out. Now, my one self-serving extra piece of information is that apparently those affiliate links will expire after 24 hours unless you put the item in your cart. So if you're interested in the deck but unsure about buying it, what you can do is add the deck to your cart and leave it there until you make a decision. And obviously, if you decide not to buy the deck, you can just remove the item from your cart. So not an extra problem from that perspective. And really, that's it, everyone. I hope that I will see you at another reading. Take care. Bye.